As a recap, several months ago I accidentally found out my husband was cheating during his supposed work trips. Dude was actually on a romantic getaway with a co-worker. I collected all the receipts, emails and proof, wrote a 10-page letter and tucked it into his suitcase before he left for another work trip. I planned this epic group text confrontation with him and his mistress. Turns out he blocked me and I had to call the hotel. Long story short, he didn't care, said divorce was in order, and now we are. The aftermath is a roller coaster of emotions, from a messy breakup to dealing with his promises and plans, back to the present. Chapter 40, D-Day. Today was a normal day. Normal refusal to get out of bed, normal straining to put my face on in the mirror, normal coffee, normal gridlock, normal coffee stain on a shirt from stop-and-go gridlock, normal work banter, normal paperwork, normal return home gridlock, normal homework, normal dinner, normal wrangling of children for bedtime, normal. As I settled in from my rather routine day, I noticed that my emails had not refreshed all day, waiting for the red bubble to appear with an ungodly high double-digit number. I cringe at the thought of emails I've missed that need replying. I swipe through all the junk and ads offering discounts. We all know there aren't real discounted savings in those promo emails, and see an email from my lawyer. The subject, congrats. I stop. A hard, full stop. Like a deer in headlights. It has to be it. This is everything I've been excited for. Everything I wanted. My future, scary and unpredictable, all sit in an email just waiting to be opened. I'm ecstatic and petrified. I know when I open the email and read her words that not only am I starting a new chapter, it's a whole new goddamn book. Honestly, at that moment, I was afraid and jealous of my STBX. I'm so angry that he has taken the coward's way out through this whole process. Never did he experience the heartache, trauma, frustration, jealousy, and inadequacies that I felt. Like the vile toad he is, he jumped from my lily pad to hers and never even got wet. Meanwhile, I'm in a pond with no lily pads in sight and I feel like I'm sinking. I listen to my own thoughts and I'm disgusted with this woe is me mentality, but it can't be shaken. I think I have the right to feel this way, but the mother in me refuses to show the world the fear I am suppressing. I swallow hard and open it. It is done. We are done. The process is done. I'm free. I should be drinking, popping the bubbly and celebrating. But I think what people don't say is that when you divorce, it's more like death. Death to a life you had. Death to the stability you thought you had. Death to the comfort you had grown accustomed to. Now I ask myself, what do people do in times of death and despair? They eat. Check. Did that enough already? They find comfort in friends and family. Check. My loved ones are my rock whom I rely on heavily. They remember the good times. Check. I have my boys as a constant reminder that even though it went south, I have two amazing people to show for it. They move on. There it is. Move on. I need to look to the future. No, not just a romantic one, but a future that is mine to take. Decisions that are mine to make. Memories that are mine to create. And for once I can be selfish. I can make the calls that benefit my boys and me. I can grab life by the horns and tame it. I'm ready. So loyal readers who sat with me from the beginning, let this be the post you've been waiting for. A woman who has come full circle. A woman who might not have created a perfect circle, but she is trying. A woman who will still have major bumps and divots ahead, tackling him persistently, asking for money, moving, and just being a plain old jerk. Some of you will stop reading, and if this is our goodbye, then I thank you and wish you the best. Some may continue to read only to hear what becomes of my ex-husband and the future karma he may face. I have found it so helpful for me to be real, honest, and vulnerable in my writing. I hope I have helped some of you in the process, and for that reason, I will continue to write, for you and for me. I have navigated this whole experience blindly and have revealed to you my story and my sacred inner thoughts. Chapter 41, Facelift Drama. I thought it would be easy. The weight dropped and instantly supermodel thin. But that's a lie. Anyone who says the drama ends with divorce is lying to you. It's a trap. That person can't be trusted. The problems just change. It's like drama got a facelift, but it's still ugly at its core. The house is sold, the huge cheque has been deposited, and here comes the troll from under the bridge. He furrows his brow and demands his money and new custody. Just when I feel like we reached a stale tolerance of each other, here come the dramatics. Here is the latest struggle, trips to her state with the kids. He wants them for Christmas. I agreed, Christmas Eve with me, and on Christmas Day they hop on a plane and they spend the holiday week as a family. Cute, right? I asked they be back for Noailles and my birthday. That was a struggle. But Noailles is my holiday this year, he protested. Okay, but Christmas Day is a shared holiday which I am giving to you. Reluctant compromise, but compromise nonetheless. Then he starts to inquire about taking our 5- and 9-year-olds on random weekend trips there. Do you even understand the exhaustion they will feel on Monday in school after 2 trips at 5 hours each way, in less than 72 hours? How is this what is best for them? I think it's what you want, the desire to play house, but it's not what's best for them. I suggest he look to take them on extended weekends or spring break. He then says that he expects a problem with holidays when he moves. I reminded him our MSA says he will come here 1 weekend a month, not the other way around. He's out of his gourd if he thinks I'm going to allow our children to fly that often during the school year. But don't worry, loyal readers. I'm honestly not sure how many of you are left. This is something I will not budge on. Our MSA states the custody. He comes here. They do not go there unless it is for 4 or 5 weeks in the summer. Sorry, play house with her kids, not with ours. He is grumpy and accuses me of doing what I please and expecting everyone to fold. I reminded him I followed the custody schedule he wanted, compromised on his travel and holidays, and even negotiated a small amount of cash for him. How am I winning? I'm being too nice. I am folding. But since he didn't get everything he wanted, I am the bad guy. Sigh, hello, narcissist. It's been a while, but I see you are still around and staying strong. My thought is if I stay strong and firm about him coming here, he will eventually stop coming. Is that terrible? Kinda. Is that necessary? Also, kinda. I don't know what the best thing is. Perhaps I let my feelings about them playing house hurt me, but I have to remind myself it will probably be short-lived. Something about leopards and spots. I remind myself to stay focused on the real issue, the boys. This will all come to a conclusion and eventually run its course. Stay strong and stay firm just till his eventual move. Time heals, time reveals truth, time... I need it to hurry up. Chapter 42, Christmas Karma, 12/29/21. For months the ex and I have gone back and forth about the topic of travel for the holidays. In October he suggested he take the boys to her state for the holiday. I agreed but wanted them home for Noailles and my birthday celebration. He agreed. Easy peasy. No fuss, no muss. Then a few weeks later he complained he wouldn't have the boys for either holiday, Christmas Day is a shared day, so I reluctantly agreed to return the boys on the evening of the 24th, so they may spend Christmas Day in her state. All was well with that decision, yet again. Then I guess the little birdie he cheated with chirped in his ear again, and he came back a few weeks later and demanded he get Noailles as well. It was technically his holiday, but I gave him Christmas Day for it. Or I should fly out to pick up the kids if I wanted them back for Noailles. Sigh. This co-parenting with the AP's input is tiring. Realising that we could never compromise. I told him we stick to our legal agreement, we share Christmas Day and he gets them Noailles to be returned on the 1st. He was not happy with this deal either. Bottom line, if he doesn't get 100% of what he wants, he isn't happy. But I know sticking to only the legal agreement will benefit me and the boys in the long run. I say this because earlier this month he said when he moves across the country, it will be expensive and difficult for him to come back here monthly to visit as our MSA states. He wants the boys to go there monthly instead. Oh no, no, no. We are not shuttling 2 young boys across the country monthly because you no longer like the legal agreement we made. I emailed my lawyer and gave her a heads up that this was his thought process in case the situation got sticky in the months to come. She and I are prepared. So by sticking to the MSA now, I can give 0 wiggle room in the months to come. On Wednesday, 12/22, I got a call from the school nurse telling me my 5-year-old was a close contact with a positive student in his class. I called my mother immediately to have him picked up, scheduled a COVID test for both boys, and then called my ex. His first response was, "Well, that fucks up my trip." Yes, our son is fine, thanks for asking. Now both boys are a close contact and can't travel. So what does he do? He boards an earlier flight and disappears. Wow. I shouldn't be surprised. Guess spending Christmas with her kids was more of a priority. I know some of you will say, what about his health? He is risking exposure too. Well, my son was exposed on Monday the 20th, and my ex had both boys on the 20th and 22nd. He wouldn't be risking exposure. He was already exposed in this case. I'm sharing this story now as I wanted to wait for their COVID tests. But after months of back and forth and him changing our arrangement, the boys don't even end up going. He says he is devastated that the boys couldn't go, but had zero issues bailing early and not seeing them at all for Christmas. Both boys are fine and are actually getting tested again tomorrow for their return to school next week. Now that I know they are not sick, I can only assume this whole thing was karma. His selfish behaviour and hard-headed mentality were for nothing. Karma. My ex called at 7:30 p.m. Christmas evening to have a 90-second chat with them and has yet to ask me how anyone feels. Didn't even ask about test results. I wonder if AP knew this was why the boys did not travel. Perhaps he lied and said I was not allowing them to. I only say this because she has a small child who is not of vaccination age. I really hope, for that child's sake, my ex isn't an asymptomatic carrier. I will be requiring him to get tested as well before he picks up the boys on the 4th. I'm sure he will say he is fine, or just say he got tested already, which I will ask to see the results. I've learned the hard way his word means less than nothing. Chapter 43. Sayonara, sucker. While I have always been good at thinking a few steps ahead and seeing the writing on the wall before it has even been written, there was one thing I was always sure of. He was moving. For months he danced around it. Why? Excellent question. I wish I could answer it. There are a lot of questions I wish I had answers for. But one thing was always obvious. He was leaving to live a life with her and her children. Now let's analyse this logically. Why would you have an affair with a woman across the country and visit every other weekend as well as long holidays if you never had any intention of living there and making it work? Just that piece of evidence is all you need. But wait, there's more. My boys told me before Christmas that Daddy got a job at a big well-known company. I told them that wasn't correct, thinking that he told them he worked there just so they would understand that he worked for a company in some capacity. Putting a face to a name, if you will. So when I finally asked him purely in conversation, he told me the boys were right. And, I hope you are sitting down for this news, his office is located in her state. So why would you take a job in her state if you weren't sure, if you were going to move there? I also sent him a custody schedule early this month that runs through May 1st, and he has never even looked at it. Normally he's quickly responding and telling me weekends he has booked to travel to her. Something wasn't right. Lastly, his lease is up on March 1st. No way he was going to re-up for a year. Sometimes I feel like I need to check myself in the mirror. He must see idiot written across my forehead somewhere and I have yet to find it. So he texted me yesterday to tell me the news. This isn't news. This is information you have known and have withheld. I don't, and probably never will, understand why he can't be transparent. I'm not asking for personal details. I need information to schedule the rest of my life. Literally, the rest of my life. Because as I, and many of you, have speculated, I doubt he will be in their lives for much longer. Is that sad? Yeah, it's superficially sad. The boys will not have a father around, but he wasn't really the father they needed. Lately, he has been better, but it really was a last-ditch effort to save the fragile and awkward relationship they have. I think about how 10 years from now, when they are older and understand, I have no idea how they will react towards him. Knowing that he had an affair fought me constantly. and then disappeared 4 months after our divorce was legalized might really alter the relationship the three of them have as adults. How he maintains that relationship over the next few years will be important. I hope for everyone's sake there is some effort, but as a Magic 8-Ball would say, outlook is not so good. The upside is my child support is more than doubling. This will be helpful as I have been house hunting, and that extra money would help me get a better house for the boys and me. I'm excited for this. The boys are excited for this. I think the three of us are eager to start our lives over. They have already asked to come see houses with me, to pick out their bedrooms, and are excited about the possibility of getting a pool. I hope I can check all of their boxes. They deserve everything. Chapter 44, Probable Prediction. It's almost here. I have every type of emotion swirling through me. Will I miss him? Hell no. But I think what controls me the most is the probability that he will be selfish right until the end. Let me give you some context. He is moving. Bye. See ya. Don't let the door hit you, etc. Now, any normal, well-adjusted person would prepare, right? Well, not him. Oh, no, not him. Instead, he has spent his child-free weekends in her state. I learned through mutual friends that he was celebrating birthdays of her friends, paintballing, and of course treating her to a fancy Valentine's Day evening. Again, normally this would be none of my business, and I would have no reason to care, except he has already hinted that he will not be taking the kids the last weekend of the month as scheduled. Apparently, he opted to enjoy his weekends and then give me the children on his scheduled weekend to finally handle his priorities. But who cares about my time, right? But I ask more importantly, what about the kids? Is this see ya later, only to disappear like a thief in the night? No explanation, just a normal goodbye that translates to goodbye forever. Here is my prediction. He is currently across the country. He will return on Monday the 21st to have the kids for 2 nights and then disappear. Poof. Houdini himself couldn't pull off a better trick. The greatest disappearing trick of all time. Now let me tell you what brought me to this idea. It wasn't a crystal ball, but simply his inability to provide detail. He has sold everything that mattered to him or was worth anything. Years of expensive memorabilia piled into a U-Haul and sold. He is also having his car shipped across the country. Good idea, but when I asked when it was being shipped, he told me the guy hasn't given me a date. So you hired a company and told them you are outta here on 3/1 and they have not given you a ship date. My guess? He has a date that he isn't willing to share because he knows it will prevent him from being here for his parenting time. I've seen this movie so many times, at this point I can recite the dialogue. When I talked to him about this, he claimed he was doing the best I can and I don't have any help. So I offered to help. I told him I had offered to help him pack up things on both weekends, but he chose to be in her state instead. His reply was, "Stop trying to control the situation." Wait. I offered to help because you had no help and you classified that as me being controlling. That bothered me. Not because he's a dick. I know that part can't be helped. But because he knows me. He knows that wasn't a controlling comment. So why say it? I realized he said this because he had to. Me being a good person brings him guilt. He knows this move is selfish. He knows he has been difficult. He knows the affair was wrong, but it's easier to make me the villain than to face his own faults. Perhaps he has told so many lies about what an evil person I am to his AP that he now believes them. Whatever the reason, the chameleon has changed his colour. He is now her shade and will blend in and mimic whatever she feels. This is something narcissists do. He is charming and agreeable to her. If she has an opinion about me, it's now his opinion as well. She is his new supply and he will drink it up. He will mould himself to everything she is, until he gets bored, until the allure fades, daily life and routine set in, and she is no longer feeding his ego. And then what? Then he does what he did to me. He pulls away, he resents, he's secretive, he cheats, and then vilifies. Again, the chameleon will change their colour. It's just the chameleon nature. Chapter 45, Goodbye and Hello. The day came, and the day went. Last Saturday, 2:26, he left. Yes, my prediction was right. He said he wasn't changing a cross-country trip to keep the kids his last weekend, even though just a few days before he said things are up in the air about the move. I wish I knew something about gambling because I could have bet it all and won. I'm sure anyone who has kept up with my story since the beginning also knew the odds of him leaving early were a good one. We could have all made a few coins. He dropped off some things at the house on Thursday evening and said bye to the kids. It wasn't emotional or long-winded, just a hug and a goodbye. The next day, I went to his place to get the larger objects that did not fit in his car. We packed my car in silence, and then once the trunk was closed, the awkward moment began. Do I just leave? Throw him deuces and jump in my car? What is the protocol for saying goodbye to the man you were married to for 10 years, knew for 15, had children with, cheated on you, etc.? So I just said, well, I guess that's goodbye. Good luck to you out there. He then looked at his feet and started shifting his weight. No, this can't be what I think it is. Is he sad? He then says, come on, you are going to make me cry. I'm going to make you cry. That statement made me furious. So I said, why the hell would you cry? Every decision you've made for the past 1 to 8 months was all for this moment. You wanted this and you got it. He wanted validation. He wanted reassurance. The bottom line is that he's comfortable with me and he knows I'm a logical person. He wanted me to tell him this was the right thing to do, that it was okay he was leaving the kids. Hell, maybe it's okay that he cheated. I guess my comment made him realize the days of moral support are long gone and he stiffened up. I turned to get into my car, and as I left I said, so much for the past 15 years, goodbye. He scoffed. Good, he's angry with me again. I prefer that. I spoke to him for the first time yesterday since he left. The boys' spring break is in a month and the plan was that they would be going to him for the week. I sent him a message asking about dates, and he did not seem eager. He said he had to look at a calendar and work on things on his end. He didn't jump at the comment I made about keeping them for Easter and my oldest's birthday either. Something is up. Turns out her children will be in school that week and they both have to work. Who will watch to entertain the kids for a week? He is not going to make it work. I don't think he can, even if he wanted to. To all my betting people, what are the chances the boys go visit him for a week in April? Now, on to new business. I met someone. Well, I didn't just meet someone, I've been dating someone since December and dare I say it, he's really amazing. I have hesitated to say anything as honestly, I'm scared. I'm afraid the same thing will happen to me again. I'm afraid to introduce the boys to someone and then it dissolves. I'm afraid of truly opening up to someone again, but I will say so far, he is completely different than my ex. I'm cautious, but I enjoy his company, affection, and attention. He knows my story. He's been in the room while I've had phone calls with my ex and he has heard the gaslighting firsthand. I think he is being very patient with me because of this. I warned him early this would take me time and he understood. I'm not the same woman I was 2 years ago. That's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's the truth. So for now, I'm cautiously optimistic and just taking it day by wonderful day with him. Chapter 46, Radio Silence. 10 days. That's when the boys' spring break starts. It's only 10 days away and still no word from the ex about airfare and travel arrangements. Back in the beginning of March, when I asked him about this, we tried to figure out logistics. I say we, but it was actually me. I volunteered to pay my way to fly out there. I was going to have a mini vacation for myself after drop-off, and he would pay for the boys' airfare. He assured me that he had travel credits from their missed Christmas trip and all would be covered. Then radio silence. Not a peep. I'd ask about dates and he'd say he needed to check his work calendar. Then it was, I have to check our calendar. Lastly, it was, the airline is giving me problems with my credit. So I waited. I waited 3 weeks. Tonight I had to make the call. I wish I never would have picked up the phone to dial his number. He informs me that his credit is for only 1 set of tickets. So he says, how do you want to work this? You want to pay their way here and I'll pay for the flight back? No, I do not want to do that. Hard pass. This is not my responsibility to pay. You agreed via our MSA to come here once a month. You decided it was too big of an expense and now want them to come to you. You moved across the country for a woman and left your children. Now you need to pay their airfare or come here. He told me we have 50-50 custody, so travel expenses should be the same. He told me he spoke to people are obviously his girlfriend, and they think our arrangement is absurd and unfair. Okay there, Chief. Whatever you say. Please show me the law degree of said people. He said our whole MSA needs to be changed. Want to change it? No problem. Get a lawyer. He won't because financially he can't. He couldn't afford to pay $2,000 in airline tickets but can afford a lawyer. We went in circles arguing the same points and I realized none of us were being heard. So I told him to get a lawyer and hung up. So I opened up my wallet yet again and called my lawyer. That's one bill I will never be angry about paying. She told me he can make demands until he is blue in the face, but until he hires a lawyer and files for the change, it's all just hot air. Then even after he files, she is confident that a judge will see his reneging on our legal agreement as a negative. Then the judge will ask why he moved, and when they see it was purely for his benefit and not in the best interest of the children, he will not alter the agreement. The best part is, if he files, he will have to travel back to my state to attend court, but doesn't want to travel here to visit the kids. Moral of the story. He never really cared about the kids. It was all about besting me. Besting me out of money, time, sanity, the list goes on and on. The hard truth is he has moved on. I was perfectly fine with him moving on and leaving me behind. I welcomed that. But the kids, that hurts. They are slowly asking less about him, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Bad for him, I'm sure, but for the kids, it might just be the best. Chapter 47, Game Time. I'd like to introduce you to a new game I play. Some who are survivors of infidelity and narcissism might be familiar with this game. I like to call it healthy or trauma. Being in a new relationship after you have left a cheater is hard, mentally and emotionally. I find myself loving every minute with him and enjoying the comfort we give each other, but I also find myself analysing things more than I ever have. I have not been in a healthy relationship, so I often find myself wondering, what is normal and what is not? Is this action, behaviour or response a healthy one, or am I doomed to make the same mistake again? For the first few months I played this game in silence. He ignored what I said to him when he was watching the game. Normal? I had to ask him to help me with something. Normal? He answered a text and put his phone in his pocket. Trauma? He plays a video game and disappears for a bit. Trauma? He has been unbelievably patient with me and navigating me through this new relationship, and it has made me so comfortable. The trust is building, but it's not sturdy. It's not the Empire State Building, more like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It was becoming exhausting playing this back and forth game in my head. I knew I didn't want to make the mistakes I'd made in the past. Am I being too cautious and overanalyzing? Yes, probably. But who wouldn't be in my place? Was I getting in my own way by doing this? What should I do to ensure this relationship is healthy and grows? I decided to start at the beginning. I wanted to correct the first wrong step I took with my ex, not communicating properly. So, I told him about my game. I told him that I overanalyze. He knew this part already, but the game bit was new. And I question if things are part of a healthy relationship, or am I leading towards trauma again? He understood. He laughed. He comforted. He hugged. So while I have not been able to stop playing my game, I'm now no longer the only player. He understands my thought processes and communicates with me. He sees the wheels turning in my head and puts them to a grinding halt. I apologize to him for how my mind works, and he won't hear of it. We are rebuilding, he says. Yes, we are. Chapter 48, A Legal Leap. We've reached an impasse. There is no forward progress, just a brutal stalemate, or better yet a staring contest, and neither of us has blinked for weeks. As many of you know, the boys did not visit in April because of his last-minute money grab to have me split airfare. We ended our last conversation, general disgust for each other, by agreeing to both get lawyers. Well, as of last night, he has not retained a lawyer, but still expects the boys to come visit in July. How? Are you driving 2,400 plus miles here and back? Hitchhike? Magic carpet? How? because last I knew we agreed there was no resolving this on our own and a trip to court was necessary. He told me he didn't have time to start this argument. What argument? There is nothing to argue. Get a lawyer and let them argue for us. So now this is my dilemma. Do I just start the court process on my own? He hasn't seen the boys in 3 months, and that's enough missed parenting to warrant a trip back to court for compensation for missed parenting time, a change in physical custody, as well as altering child support payments. Now, he wants to change our agreement to spring break, Xmas break, and 4-5 weeks in the summer, and eliminate the monthly visits. Okay, fine by me, but that will result in less parenting time for you and more child support for me. When I said this to him during our argument, he told me, "It's all about the money for you." No, sir, it's not about the money, but that's the law. Less parenting time equals more child support for the other parent. Don't like it? Take it up with the state. He's never going to get a lawyer. This I'm sure of. So, if I start the process to change our physical custody agreement and seek a judgment on travel expenses, he will be forced to retain a lawyer. So do I do it? I figure I have to do it. This may bankrupt him. I'm sure his girlfriend will not be happy with the loss of a few hundred more a month either. But I also think that if things are ruled in my favour, he will never be able to afford to fly the kids out there. Do I want that? I keep blaming myself, saying that I'll cause him to go broke or that me digging my heels in about travel expenses is preventing him from seeing the kids, but it's not. This is all his doing. His selfish decisions were made, and now I feel guilty about making my own decisions for me and the boys. So let me get that out of my head and move forward, just as he did. Do I feel my for the change in circumstance and modify the agreement? I think, and so does my lawyer, that I will win this disagreement, so what do I have to lose, right? Chapter 49, Playing Chicken. I struggled with the idea of bringing my ex back to court. I know I said struggled, but it was really the only thing I could do. There would be no resolve on our own. We were just making demands of each other, and the whole time there was no conclusion. So I called my lawyer. She drafted a post-judgment order listing my wishes. Those being, he pays all the travel expenses for the boys. His parenting time goes to the 3 times a year like he wanted. His child support is increased to the amount necessary for the change in parenting. Pretty cut and dry. My lawyer emailed this to him on 5/25. Then we waited, and waited, and waited some more. After some time of no response, she sent the same judgment order to him via certified mail on 6/3. He responded a few days later and said he was obtaining counsel and would come back once he had time to write up a response. Well, tonight, I got it. And oh man, what a waste of time. I'll spare you all the gory details, but basically, the sticking point has not changed. He still wants me to pay 42% of the travel. We wasted weeks. We are back where we started. We are staring at each other just playing chicken. So now what? What was the point of all this? I think I know. He never obtained counsel. I found out from Apex that the AP's, I guess girlfriend now, brother is an attorney. My ex has claimed to my lawyer he has hired counsel, but in reality, her brother is helping him word documents to me pro bono. Okay, that's fine, but this whole time I'm paying a lawyer. I'm wasting dollars and he is wasting favours. We are not the same. This whole ordeal is costing me, and it's because of his wants actions that we are doing this. His emails and texts to me are professional and kind. He wants me to cave. He wants me to be kind. He wants all this because if we don't come to an agreement, we go back to court. Then he has to fly here, find lodging, miss work, and most importantly, hire a lawyer. Now he is the one out a few bucks he would spend on his new lifestyle. By new lifestyle, I mean vacations and nights out. In the past 4 weeks, they have had 2 weekend getaways to spa resorts. His weekend with the kids should have been Memorial Day weekend. Instead, he spent it at a resort with her. Well, looks like he is going to have to empty his wallet because now it's time to spend some money on his kids. I think the part that chaps my ass the most was on his revisions of the document. He wanted to change the phrase to accommodate defendant's choice to relocate and not travel to this is an agreed upon modification based on the defendant's inability to travel. What? What inability are you facing? Your words to me were, my life is here now and I'm never returning. That sounds like a tantrum and not an inability. Long story short, my lawyer is filing the papers and we are returning to court. I can't wait to hear him explain his inability to the judge. Pop the popcorn, this is going to be a movie. Chapter 50. Dropping the act. I stopped feeling sorry for him. I stopped negotiating. I stopped thinking of his needs. 2 weeks ago, he sent an email with 3 options for our custody issue. Every option was garbage. It either resulted in less child support, so he could afford travel, or a shared travel cost and more child support. Please tell me how supporting your children financially is negotiable. How is that even an option that comes to your mind? And how is that in the best interest of the children? So you want to not see them, pay me less money to help support them so you can fly them out to you and have a grand old time? His wording in his email was as follows. It is not financially feasible for me to pay for 100% of travel cost for 2 to 3 trips each year, in addition to the increased child support and other expenses I'm responsible for. Yikes. Sounds like you got yourself into a pickle there, buddy. My lawyer contacted him and said there would be no more back and forth. We are filing an application with the court on Monday. Since the courts are all back to in person, he will have to fly here and make an appearance. She sent him my proposed order with a few modifications I had originally agreed to as a compromise, but also left all travel expenses to him as well as increased child support. He has until Friday to decide if he agrees to my terms or would like to go to court. Balls in your court now. Chapter 51. Good Counsel. After weeks, no months of this back and forth, he finally did what I never thought he would do, hire a lawyer. I think all the favours he was calling in on her lawyer family members were becoming a bit too much, so he reluctantly hired counsel. 10 days ago, my lawyer emailed me and told me he finally obtained counsel. She said his lawyer was nice and reasonable and saw eye to eye on some of our requests. Some of our requests? I have one request. He pays for travel. So I think his counsel sees he doesn't really stand a chance in court. I was informed they were going to come up with some solutions and get back to us. That was July 25th, and I am impatiently waiting. After that email from my lawyer, I just stewed for a bit with this new information. His lawyer must know he doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning this, so what could other solutions be? The anticipation is killing me. I spoke to him a few days later, and the topic of lawyers came up. I honestly thanked him for getting a lawyer so we could straighten this mess out and finally get to a resolution. He said he did get a lawyer, but he didn't want to. He then said, "There is zero precedent for me shouldering 100% of the costs out there. I have pitched multiple scenarios where we could make something work. I didn't want to put it in the hands of a judge who knows nothing about us, then a stack of paper and 2 people representing us. It's a massive risk, on both ends. And from my view, it's unnecessary." Was he right? Was this a risk? What precedent is he referring to exactly? But when you really look at the statement, you see the real meaning. He didn't want this to go to court because then the decision is in the hands of a third party who knows the law and just sees what's on paper. So what's on paper that he is so afraid of? The fact that we have a legal agreement he now wants to change? The fact that he has not used his parenting time to see our kids since February? The fact that the child support calculations are not correct since he has not fulfilled his parenting time? Yeah, I could see how you wouldn't want that information coming to light in court. He was hoping he could just guilt me or wear me down till I finally caved. But with a judge involved, that won't happen. All his selfish acts will be on full display. I can't wait to see the solutions his counsel presents. Any day now, any day. All in all, this has been a long one. I'm not sure what my plan is for the future after our divorce. More updates to come, and thank you for